All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to my YouTube version of my homily for the second Sunday of Advent. So, the school kids have basically taken over the church in preparation for their Christmas concert. So, got to film this one at home for a change. So, the variety can help sometimes, I suppose. But as we continue our preparation of Advent, we are basically hearing John the Baptist do something pretty similar in the Gospels. And I gotta tell you, it was such a struggle trying to find something to preach about this weekend, but I eventually landed on the second half of the Gospel. John the Baptist is saying, "Prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight his paths. Make rough ways smooth, crooked ways straight, fill the valleys, level the hills." So your basic common sense, your voice of common sense in your head, is being pretty accurate this time around. John the Baptist is sounding remarkably similar to a civil engineer preparing to build a highway. A highway does need to be straight and smooth and well maintained so that travelers can make the journey as effectively as possible. That is what a highway is for, even before cars were invented. It is the best, most reliable way to get from A to B, which is normally between major cities that have the most traffic. And I'll admit that it's not in the Bible directly, but the highway, or the King's Road, as it's sometimes called, it was also the safest way to get from A to B. Soldiers would very often be positioned there to protect the travelers, and overall it was just a fairly difficult place to rob someone. It's when you leave the highway, for the sake of a detour or a shortcut, that's when you can get into trouble somehow. And after my time in Africa, I can very much say I've experienced this firsthand. The difference between a well-traveled, safe road and kind of a sketchy shortcut that might be bad news, that difference is not very difficult to identify. And I was just talking to one of my deacons. We were just chatting on Friday night at a party. He was describing a visit to New Orleans in the exact same context. When you're a guest in a city like that, there are parts of the city you belong in. There are parts of the city you don't belong in. And it isn't very difficult to recognize the difference. So, a highway. It's effective, it's efficient, it's safe, it's fast. One more thing I've got to talk about with roads, and then we'll fold Jesus into the mix here. We can take the purpose of a road for granted. There was a short story I read many years ago. Don't bother looking it up, you won't find it. It was called Brath, and it was a historical fiction about the Romans invading the British Isles. So Brath is a barbarian chieftain, and they're defending their homes, their territory, and the Romans had basically conquered the southeastern portion of the island, the coastal region. So Brath's cousin believes that the Romans are running out of fight. As long as they can lose 2 or 3 more key battles, they'll pack up, they'll leave the island as more trouble than it's worth. Brath disagrees. He thought the Romans were much more stubborn than that. So he takes his cousin up a hill, and they look down at a nearby Roman encampment, and they see the Roman soldiers, going about their daily responsibilities. And among other things, they were building roads. So Brath goes, "Do you see what I see? Why are they building roads?" And his cousin goes, "Okay, Brath, I get it. They're building roads so they can come here." And Brath goes, No, they're not building roads to come here. They're already here. They're building roads to stay here. And when you say it out loud, that's a perfectly obvious point. It's so easy when you think of it like that. Yeah, like building a road takes ages compared to just walking somewhere through a field. We build roads so that we can come and go between 2 points rapidly and effectively. That is what a road is for, especially a highway. So, sorry, I lost my place there. Okay. Now that you've got all these road ideas in there, it's fast, it's reliable, it's somewhere we can go to and fro constantly. Now with all of that in your head, hear the words of John the Baptist one more time. Prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight his paths, make crooked ways straight. He is saying that we should prepare for the Lord because Christ is coming. He's calling for the beginning of a preparation process, which is why we have this in Advent. He's saying that Jesus Christ is on the way, and he's not coming for a quick visit or a short social call. He's like the Romans. He's coming to us to stay with us. This is a long-term situation. So prepare a highway for the Lord in your soul, so that his blessing may come down to you quickly and rapidly, and that your prayers may go up to him without delay. That is the spiritual highway that John is talking about. And that means that praying to God, taking Christ seriously, these are not things we're supposed to do once. It's supposed to be a regular part of our life. During our work and during our leisure, alone and in multitude. And the people that don't have this attitude are fairly easy to describe. They're people who talk about God in the context of one event. For instance, there's a comedian that I've been listening to ever since high school. And this man, he unfortunately got testicular cancer in his late 20s. So the doctor tells him, you've got testicular cancer, but don't worry, there's a 90% chance you're going to live. And he goes, I'm dead. He's like, no, I'm that guy. I'm going to be the 10% that dies from this. And he said that very clearly. Like, when the doctor gave me that diagnosis, I believed I was going to die. And in that period of time, however long it was, days, weeks, months, he said, in that time I found myself doing something I had never done once before ever in my entire life. Praying to God. Praying as if he's a real guy, and he's listening to me, and he's going to do what I'm asking him to do, which is to save my life. So he did, in fact, beat cancer just fine. And to this day, he is very grateful to be alive. And I believe he's grateful to God as well. Now, don't get me wrong. That's a really sweet story. Turning to God in your moment of need for the very first time, that is way better than never turning to God at all. So don't misunderstand me. I'm not belittling him in any way. I am glad that he turned to God the way he did. Some people need to get cancer before they understand the importance of having God in your life. I bring it up today simply because that attitude is not what John the Baptist is calling for from us. When we make a highway for the Lord within ourselves, we are constantly going to and from God's presence and vice versa. Christ is not supposed to visit us 2 or 3 times in our lifetimes when we're desperate for a miracle, Christ is supposed to know that commute by heart. He should know the traffic patterns, where all the good Starbucks are along the way. He should know that route from heaven to your soul like the hole in the back of his hand. So make straight the path of the Lord. Make crooked ways straight, make rough ways smooth. And may your prayer to him and may his blessing upon you be as easy and efficient as a drive along the highway. Thank you, everyone, and happy second half of the season of Advent to you.